All right, we're recording that. Want to get started? Welcome to another edition of The Price is Right. You're here. I know it's not that show, is it?
It is not that show. The Price is Right. What are we going to win?
Bob. Bob.
Bob
All
Barker.
right. Yeah. Where is everybody? They're on the show. Where are we? Evolve or remain.
We are Evolve or Remain at Creative Collective Studio in Salem. They have this lovely setup studio for us. I really
Right?
don't like that extinguisher in the background there.
Oh,
Okay, we took that out.
bye-bye extinguisher. Yeah. Oh, and there goes my water. We are a mess today. You
Water
want
is
to know
life.
why? Right here for those listening. What are these called?
I have no idea.
Bubblers. Bubblers. Bubblers? Bubblers. It's
And
all
don't forget
sugar.
about the macaroon.
The macaroons again. It's all sugar.
It's my fault. And that's totally okay.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So everybody's on number
Everything in
4.
moderation is okay.
This is true. This is true.
Well, I wouldn't really say everything, but
Yeah.
sugar in moderation.
Everybody's so we're here, number 4 podcast, episode 4.
Yeah.
That we're recording here. And you're on Evolve or Remain. I'm Michael LoColle.
Melissa McLaughlin.
And today we're going to be recapping for you a lot of what we talked about in the first few episodes. Melissa got a chance to interview me. I got a chance to interview her. And today we're going to recap and go over a lot of what we talked about and a lot of what we haven't talked about, right? I always love to say that you can't get everything that we've gone through out in one episode. It's just impossible. So we're here talking about it all.
You can't always get what you want.
I honestly didn't see that coming. I really didn't.
Channeling today, it happens.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, we interviewed Mike first, and then I was the third episode. After today, we have some guest speakers lined up for March 20th, and then 2 in April, and 1 more in May. So definitely stay tuned because you're going to be hearing a lot of great stories and how fellow practitioners went through their traumas and what they've utilized to help them grow in order to step into the facilitator of healing that they are.
Yeah. Yeah, because it takes work, but at the same time we can help others while we help ourselves.
We can. And we can have a lot of fun doing it too.
Right? And then not so much fun.
I know. It ebbs and flows like everything does.
It really does. Yeah. Yeah. So what did we talk about last week? We interviewed you last week,
Yeah, we did.
right? We got in some pretty deep areas of conversation.
We did, yeah. As far as being a survivor of so much in my youth and my addictions taking place throughout my teens, and they lasted for a while, through my teens, through my 20s. I want to say right around when I turned 30 is when I started getting my big lightning bolt moments.
Okay. Well, what's that for you?
So a lightning bolt moment?
Yeah.
That is when, picture this, right? So you have a lightning bolt that just strikes and it hits the concrete and it cracks open layers of the earth. And you just feel that power. And then within those layers, you just see the light finally coming through. And I've had a few of those throughout my healing journey. And I think we were talking earlier, you call it something different, but it's the same thing.
Well, so alcoholics, when they get that moment of all of a sudden, like the serenity moment, they just see the sky opening up, right? For instance, years ago when I was in my hardcore phase, drugs, alcohol, whatever was going on at the time, I was on a 3-day binge, full 3 days. And I'll never forget it because that was one of those moments where in the same 3 days, I could have died. I really felt like I was going to die. Pacing at the end of the bed. I was on so much coke and so many drugs that I really didn't think I was going to make it out of there alive. And then I had that moment where I knew I had to get up, and I ended up going down the park. that was down the street. And I was in Wakefield at the time. And I'm sitting on the bench watching kids swing around. And I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but I ended up just looking up. And it was as if, like, in that moment, I caught my moment of sobriety. And I knew that I had to walk away from the hardcore stuff. Like, it was that, like, I had done so many drugs in those 3 days. I drugged myself sober. So much alcohol, so many drugs, pot, whatever. And I went to a place where all of a sudden my body was like, we're good. Like, you can't possibly do any more. And you've gotten to a point where you're sober now. So it was just the sky opening up, crystal clear blue. And I was like, whoa, I got to walk away from this. I have to walk away from this because, again, in that same 3 days before that, I literally thought I was going to die. I had that moment where I'm like, my heart's pumping out of my chest right now. I don't know, I'm coming and going, had no clue what's going on. Everybody around me doesn't care because they're screwed up too. So, yeah, it was insane. It was absolutely insane. So that was my moment of, you got to walk away from the hardcore stuff.
And
So at least I got away from the hardcore stuff.
well, yeah, I mean that's a good thing,
Yeah.
right? How did you get away from it though?
You know, I knew I didn't belong in that scene. I had that moment where it was like I got caught up in it. You know, it was a 4th of July. It's the very first time I ever tried Coke. And it was, we were at a party. And I just remember I was like, you know, I've been at parties before and I've seen this stuff. But now it just seems as if like I need to be involved in it. So I don't know what the mentality was back then. For me, it was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. And I didn't really like it. I'll be honest with you. I didn't like it. And then going back to a girl that I was dating at the time, we went back to her place with a few other people. And they had it on the table and they were, you know, doing it. And it was just like, from that day, that 4th of July, I'll never forget it. It was a straight 4 months of pure insanity. I felt like I went to sleep on the 4th of July and I woke up 4 months later in that park.
Coke will do that.
I'd never experienced anything like that in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew I needed to walk away. Now, don't get me wrong, like I didn't walk away cold turkey that day. I got away from it slowly. So it was over the course of the next year, you know, but
Ooh,
I
once it
knew
gets its claws into you, it is so hard.
what had its claws into me. It was a very emotional tie for me. I was dating somebody who had a child, right? And this little girl was, you know, 4.5 when I met her. And at this point now we're talking like it was a couple of years later. She's about 6 years old. And I felt for her, man. Like her mom was doing nothing. Her family's doing nothing. Nobody's getting up for this girl. Nobody's making her food. So even though I was screwed up, I was helping this little girl get around the house, you know? I was the one who took her to the park, walking down the street. We were hanging out. And she took a real liking to me. And so for me, that was an emotional attachment that I had. And it was as if like, if I leave, who does this little girl have? The one thing that I needed to remind myself was this is not my little girl.
Yes, I've been in those situations
Oh
too.
man, it fucking
Exes,
hurt.
kids, and
Yeah.
I loved his kids so much, but it was a narcissistic relationship and I
Mm-hmm.
was being mentally and physically abused
Right. Right.
and I had to get away. And that ended up in a letter, an email to him
No kidding.
saying all of the things that I've been trying to say, but he, would stomp his feet and cry every single time I tried to leave him. And then I
Yeah.
thought about the kids, and I stayed in that relationship way longer than I should have because of those kids, because I loved
I did
those
the same
kids.
thing. That was it. That was the emotional tie for me. And it was like, if I walk away, this girl's got nobody.
Yeah.
And she's got nobody to take care of her. And her mom made me feel like shit in the sense that like, yo, she loves you and all this other stuff. And I love kids. I got
Me
a kid of my
too.
own. You know, he's 18 now. But I love kids. I wanted more kids. It didn't work out that way. Totally fine. But I just knew that I had to walk away from that. And If I didn't, man, I know I would have died. I wouldn't be here right now. Yeah. Life would have been very different very quickly.
I
Yeah.
definitely understand that.
Yeah. So for me, that was that bolt moment that you're talking about right now. Smacked me dead in the face. I've had plenty
Yes.
more after that because, I needed more wake up calls and whatnot. But that was a big one for me. Yeah, to get me away from the hardcore stuff. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
That's what we're here to do, right? Let it all out.
Definitely.
Hopefully it helps other people out there understand that. Like you're not alone, and it's not um this isn't uncommon, man.
No, it's not.
Don't think that you're the only one doing these things or have done these things. And there's a way out.
There is a way
There's a way
out.
through, there's a way out.
And sometimes we need those lightning bolt moments
Yeah.
to say, wake the fuck up
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and pick which route you want to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
That was the problem. I didn't actually have a path back then. Right? So, me not having any guidance, not having a path, not knowing which direction I was going in. I had a job. It was a good job, paid very well at the time. Fucked that up. You can't show up to work and not know you're at work,
Right.
Like, I mean, holy shit. To think back to all those moments, so not funny. A lot of great stories came from them, but Jesus Christ, like, not funny at all.
Not when you really look back at it.
No.
But I mean, they were fun.
Listen, we do.
They were fun
You and I have had
times.
those conversations very simply. You do drugs, you do certain things, you drink in excess, whatever it is, and you don't do that because it's not fun. In the moment, it's a fucking blast. Let's all
Hmm.
be real about this right now. In the moment, it's a great time. You can't sustain that level of great time forever.
No.
You will crash and you will burn.
Either that or you're going to end up in jail or dead.
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, man, I was traveling both roads, you know?
I believe that I was too. It's a few points.
Yeah.
From actually, so my 30th birthday, I was like, I've never tried Coke before.
Mm.
So I went away on a weekend with a few girlfriends and I manifested the fuck out of that.
Did you really?
I found it on the beach,
No kidding.
Old Orchard Beach.
So you were like, you have an intention.
I had an intention. It was a
Guys,
full moon weekend.
you're listening to this right now. You need to listen very carefully. Manifestation is a real fucking thing.
Yeah.
So be careful what you manifest and
Be
what you
careful
ask
what
for.
you speak. Be careful what you
Words
speak.
become energy.
So I had never tried it prior to my 30th, but prior to my 30th, I was addicted to pills in my teens. I was an active alcoholic
Mm-hmm.
for over a decade at that point. And I had dabbled with acid and Molly and all that fun stuff, but I never had tried Coke. And I don't know what the hell came over me, but I manifested it. And that's when I started doing that. And it wasn't like an all the time thing. Maybe on the weekend I'd do a bump
Yeah.
or two,
Yeah.
just to go out and party because
Right.
I was exhausted. So it was like, okay, well, I need an upper,
Sure.
even though I'm going to be doing all these downers with it, right?
Right.
So balance.
Mm.
So a year later, actually,
Yeah.
so I've had a few lightning bolt moments, and it's really interesting how they all are timed.
Mm.
So a year
Okay.
later,
Yeah.
I ended up getting COVID,
Okay.
and I was hospitalized from it.
Sure.
So I was trying to treat it at home, and
Okay.
I couldn't walk 2 steps to go into my house. I was like, I'm going to take care of it my natural ways, right? I didn't know that I had bacterial pneumonia on top of it.
Wow.
So I was struggling with it for like a week and a half, and I was like, finally, like, I need to go get an inhaler or something. I can't breathe. So I'm going to urgent care to get an inhaler. Mind you, my body was dying at
Yeah.
that point. My oxygen was at 72%, and they got a ambulance there, urgent care, and took me straight to the hospital for 10 days. And in those 10 days, like I mentioned in the interview, that was
Yeah.
like really, it was sobering.
Yeah.
Because you're pretty much chained to your bed. And I tried everything to get out of that hospital to get home to my dog.
Right.
Like, I just wanted to get home.
Yeah.
Um, and that moment should have set me straight
Mm-hmm.
because I was doing the coke every weekend. I was drinking,
Right.
a bunch. So I weakened my immune system. My immune system was not strong enough to fight the COVID.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I got out of the hospital and everybody's telling me, take more time off from work. Well, I couldn't do that. Being a sole proprietor and being, loving my work, it helps
Yeah.
ground me.
It's you.
I had to
It's all
get
you.
back.
Yeah.
So I went back to work way too fast. Doing that and forcing my body and my energy into something that I wasn't ready for, I went right back to drinking. And I told myself that I wasn't going to go back to doing coke until the following summer.
Got it.
And over that year, there were a few altercations I had with people that I really should have not been hanging out with at the time.
Sure. We always end up back in those situations. It's the universe testing us.
Yes,
Yeah.
so many tests along that year.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up getting involved in the festival scene
Okay.
that summer after I had COVID.
Yeah.
And that first festival I went to, I remember turning to my friend, I'm finding my next boyfriend here. Well, I did. It was like the universe was like, here's your next
There
test.
you go. Yeah.
So that summer was a summer of festivals. And I ended up doing and mixing so many drugs that, and going back to the coke,
Of
which I
course.
promised myself I would never go back to.
Of course.
So that proceeded to happen over that summer. And September, I found out that the guy I was dating cheated on me with 2 women.
Okay.
And then a few weeks later, I found out I was pregnant. Luckily,
Okay.
I had a miscarriage. And I say luckily because if I had had a full term child at that time, I would not be in the place that I am today.
Mm.
So I took that as my most sobering moment.
Of course.
And that was the time that I decided to put the alcohol away for good.
Got it.
I'm not saying that putting the alcohol away was easy,
No.
because it was not. I had multiple slip-ups in my first year. Now, I'm not even going to say that they were slip-ups, but they were choices.
Sure.
My first year, I was tested over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
I had disappointments happen in my business. My brother-in-law died drunk driving, hit a tree. And I had to step into a mode of taking a strong lead with the arrangements and doing the eulogy for him.
Right.
Him and I were really close. And then a few months later, I was tested again, and my dog died that I had had for 10 years, and it was very out of the blue that happened.
That happened.
So that shook me to the core because she saw me through everything.
Right.
All of my healing over the last 10 years, she was who I had through that time.
Got it.
So that was the last time that I picked up alcohol. And that was last April. So I'm coming
After
up.
she passed.
Yep. So I'm coming up to a year next month.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But I'm about a year and a half into when I decided to walk away from alcohol completely.
Right.
With alcohol was my gateway drug.
Okay.
I don't care what anybody says. Pot is not a gateway drug.
It's not.
Pot is a non-addictive, the same as hallucinogenic psilocybin mushrooms.
Uh-huh.
They're non-addictives. Alcohol is an addictive.
Yeah.
That was my gateway drug.
Yeah, man, you and I are going to find out a lot about each other. You kind of blew me away there for a moment. You've had some really intense moments in your life, so thank you for sharing.
Lightning bolt moments.
Yeah, yeah.
It's what had to happen for me to be where I am today.
Yeah, no, so thank you. Huge, especially for the listeners out there listening to this. And like I said, you can go through. You can heal. You can get through it. You know, you can go through some pretty intense shit and still walk out the other side, feeling a hell of a lot better than what you did before. So there's a way. Um, yeah, man. Wow, you stumped me there for a little bit.
Sorry about that.
It's all right. It's all right. It's intense.
It
These
is.
conversations are, we promised each other that was going to be unscripted, right? That we were
Yep.
going to do this and we weren't going to go in with the script and we were just going to talk about what we're going to talk about. Whatever the hell comes up, comes up.
And we're not editing
We're
either.
not editing, man. You're going to fucking get real reactions, which you just had from me, right? That was
This
a real reaction going, whew, I felt that one at my core. I felt that at my core. Um,
this is
so
all
yeah,
authentic.
yeah, well, it brought me back to a place. It gave me a reminder of, I was 20, almost 21 years old, and I was in a real shit place back then. Um, Headbanger, just long hair, fucking drinking and pot. And I did a lot of those two things back then. I didn't get into the hardcore stuff until a few years later, right? But it brought me back to a moment where an ex of mine um, was did get pregnant and decided not to have the baby, right? So we went through that whole process, and it still weighs on you. It still carries with you because you sit there and go, wow, that could have been a child in your life. So those are moments. So when you brought that up, it brought me back to that. So it's real shit.
It is real shit. And like that life, right, just wasn't meant to come into this world that way.
No, my God, I'll tell you, man, I would have been the fucking best, worst father. The best, worst father. And I'm
You would
not
have gotten
saying,
a fucking award for that one.
and this isn't a conversation of like what you agree with, if you're pro-life, pro-choice, whatever it is and stuff like that. This has nothing to do with that. So, if you're listening out there, just understand this is not what that conversation is about. Um, Love kids, but in that moment, that's what I guess needed to happen for us to move forward and move on. I obviously didn't stay with her after that. One of those points of contention in our relationship, real sticking point. Both of us never got over it.
That's something that you really can't get
No,
over.
no,
You just have to work through.
you do. Exactly. Some pretty intense shit. So again, unscripted. Yeah. Goddamn.
And we're showing up authentically for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Just to make it real and just to help you understand that um, there's real stuff. This is real life. Emotions, feelings, everything that we've gone through, the way we got through it, the way we process, the way we still move forward and move through stuff. It's a constant.
It
It's a
is a
constant.
constant, and you will have the lowest of lows, but you also will have the highest of highs
Yeah,
too.
exactly.
And a lowest of low of mine, going through my whole life. Like when I was a teen with all that whole thing,
Mm,
I was a cutter. I wanted to experience something. I wanted to experience it, and that's how I was able to experience pain.
you let's back up.
Yeah.
You wanted to experience pain.
And at the
Okay.
time, I was numbing out, right?
Right. So,
Using.
okay. All right. I can see that. I understand the psychology behind that, right? So you're numbing out, but you're like, am I still alive? Am I
Right.
here? Somebody fucking pinch me. Somebody do something.
Yep.
So you needed to feel that pain to say, okay, I'm still here. I'm still real. This is still going on.
Right. Right. And then throughout my life, the last time I will say that I had my lowest of low and didn't want to be alive was when I had COVID. Coming out of that and having to rebuild
Mm,
my body, I hit the deepest, darkest depression that I've ever experienced. Um, and I'll tell you, therapy helps.
yeah.
I'm a huge supporter of therapy.
Same, same. I've seen plenty over the years, for different reasons and stuff like that. But it definitely does help.
I wish that I was able to get into therapy in my younger years
Mm,
because that would have helped me propel forward faster, I feel.
sure,
But everything happens at the right timing.
agreed.
And growing up, really, like therapy didn't take a big turn until like the last 10 years, I want to say. More and more people started seeking that help. I wouldn't even say 10 years, I'd say like the last 5.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. And honestly, thank God we're there now, right? Thank God we're there now. Because I recall 25, 30 years ago, first time, it was probably about 30 years ago that I ever went to a therapist. And it was almost like the most hush hush thing that I had to go through because I felt so embarrassed and ashamed. What am I doing here? I had no clue, you know, what I was dealing with, what I was going through. And I just knew that I needed some help. But even then, I think I was still outside of myself to really accept that help. I wasn't there. I wasn't present. I knew what was going on, but it was like you have to be present within yourself to be able to take the information you're listening to and hearing and do something with it. I couldn't do much back then because I think I was too focused on the fact that I'm in therapy. What the fuck is happening right now?
Like, do I need
Do
this?
I need this?
Because at that point, you probably didn't
am
even
I crazy?
realize, right?
You
But
know?
you probably didn't even realize that you were the problem at that point.
No, my God, 30 years ago? Am I going to date myself right now? I mean, I'm 50.
Yeah.
I just hit that big 50 a couple of months ago. And I don't feel 50. I don't know what 50 is supposed to feel like. I know my parents 50 is totally different than what I feel at 50, that I think they felt at 50, you know? So I don't even know what the hell 50 is supposed to feel like. But for me, 30 years ago, shit, we're talking like, you know, some time,
Yeah.
1990s, people,
Yeah.
you know?
And back 30 years ago, it wasn't okay to talk openly about this stuff.
No.
It wasn't looked well upon that you were in therapy back then.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Mm-hmm.
with these shifts and these pivots in society,
You know what my
um,
therapy was? Stained. Pearl Jam, Candlebox, who was Stone Temple Pilots,
disturbed.
Disturbed. Listen to their damn lyrics. James Hetfield, Metallica. That guy, he can go in. He's been in and out of rehab and recovery many, many times over, right? But he's admitted himself. I've seen them 5 times live in concert, and I followed them for a long time. So I've read a lot of the interviews and all that stuff, and listened to different podcasts with him on it. He's come straight out and admitted it that his best writing comes from right after coming out of recovery. So he goes in, he's all screwed up. He comes up with the best lyrics. And I'm not saying do that because of that. That's just, look, we all got a creative process. That's his, you know, and maybe that's what his process is. Uh, no fault there, right? But for me, listening to those lyrics, that was my therapy 30 years ago, 25 years ago. I listened to those bands. If you listen to those lyrics, those songs, they got so much to say, so much. And that was therapy. I didn't have to go sit on a damn couch.
True.
Not back then.
Very true. And movement as well as therapy.
Yeah, I did a lot of workout, bodybuilding, strongman, powerlifting. That was my gig back then.
Hmm.
Yeah, a lot of heavy, heavy, intense movements. Paid for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little wear and tear on the body these days.
I've been through that
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Now I've transitioned into more feeling my workouts. So I used to
Mm.
be very structured with them, and now it's like, okay, well, I have Mondays, right? Resistance bands,
Yeah.
Pilates,
Okay.
yoga.
Yeah.
Coming back into my body on Monday,
Perfect.
lifting heavy Tuesday, Thursday.
Yeah.
And these do correlate to the energies of the days of the week. So
What's
I'm
up?
sure
What's up?
we'll
There we go.
I'm sure we'll get into that at some point.
We will. We will. We'll go down that road.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, and just not, I used to really kill my body. I used to do double workouts a day.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah. Well, I was in the gym 3 hours a day
mhm.
back then. After, I was what, 20, 21. I was still kind of banging. I mean, I was head banging. Okay. Um, I got to learn to rephrase words and stuff, right?
Yeah, a little
Yeah,
bit,
a
a
little
little
bit,
bit.
right? A little bit. And I was still headbanging back then and very into it and stuff. But I'd come out of high school. It's a sugar, dude. It's goddamn bubblies. these bubblers that are kicking in. So I'd come out of high school. I mean, playing football and working out all the time and stuff like that. And I was very much athletic. And then I go into a place where I'm not athletic. I don't have anything to compete for. So now I'm drinking, I'm smoking pot, I'm doing all those things. I'm getting a beer belly. What the hell's happening right now? And then a couple of years later, I found the gym again. And I found a love for it in a completely different way. But it became another addiction.
Yep. It'll do that.
Massive addiction where I was at the gym for 2 to 3, sometimes 3.5, 4 hours, 6 to 7 days a week. Thousands of dollars spent on supplements. I mean, thousands of dollars spent on chickens, pounds and pounds and pounds of chickens,
Yes.
brown rice, and broccoli,
Yeah.
And
I know that
like
very well.
it became an obsession. And I did that for the better part of God, 7+ years. And it was so intense, so much fun at the time, right? But again, another obsession, another addiction. All I was doing was going from one vice to another. Just because it was a healthy vice doesn't still mean I wasn't obsessed and addicted with it. And I was still trying to find a way away from my problems, you know?
And getting addicted to something like that, even though exercise is healthy,
Hmm.
you're still self-harming. So
Oh, yeah.
self-harm can be cutting,
Yep.
self-harm can be alcoholism,
Yep.
self-harm can be obsessively, compulsively working out. You know what I
I had
mean?
to beat myself down so much, beat my body down so much that I felt that for some reason, it almost felt like a punishment. That's literally what it felt like. The workouts felt amazing. You felt great, but then it was like, man, I am just beat.
And you can't move,
Can't
you can't
move,
function.
can't function, can't do anything. And you live for that. So it's this cycle of like, okay, go to work, get out of work, go to the gym for a few hours. Done with that, home to shower. Had a part-time job working at the bars, bouncer in Boston, doing all those things. And it was just this sick cycle. And I would sleep 4 hours a night. That's all I got. That's all I needed. And it was a sick cycle of just beating myself down, going through that process. And it was what I didn't realize. It was a lot of pain. And I was punishing myself.
What were you punishing yourself for?
Oh, man. I didn't believe in myself. So why the hell should I do anything else? Right? When you don't believe in yourself, when you think you're not worth anything, you're going to do as much damage to yourself as possible.
Yeah,
Right?
right.
And then you'll allow other people to do it too.
Beat you down,
Beat me down.
keep you in that
Exactly.
low frequency.
Yeah. Yeah. So you put out what you get back, or you get back what you put out,
Yeah,
I should say. So the frequency you put out is going to return to you tenfold.
100%. Yeah.
Tenfold. I mean, there's no question about it. I've experienced it over and over. I don't think I'm worth it. I don't think I'm good enough. I'm going to punish myself. What I get back is the exact same thing, whether it be a partner, a job, a situation, whatever it is. That's how I always had to feel back then.
And just figuring out your worth.
Yeah.
I feel like that
Took a
is such a
long time.
common thing. And that's why a lot of people bury themselves in the substances and the unhealthy habits is
Yeah.
because they don't know their own worth.
No, they don't. Most people live for others.
Yes, which we've kind of covered.
Yeah. Right? We've covered it, but I don't think we realize the depth of that and where it stems from.
Expectations.
One, expectations, but two, the expectations of whom?
Right.
Parents, grandparents.
Trying to live up to what they want of you and expect of you. But
Exactly.
not even just that, it's society as well.
Society as well, sure.
Society puts those standards out there.
Being a man, being a woman.
Yeah,
What's our role?
right.
Protector, provider, nurturer,
Mm-hmm.
caretaker.
Yeah, no.
No. So we can have those natural roles, but at the same time, we need balance within them.
Well, masculine and feminine, right?
Correct.
You need to have both
Correct.
balanced.
You do. And sometimes you need to step into one more than the other. right?
Well, let's talk about masculine and feminine a little bit
Okay.
because that's been a huge thing over my healing as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because the masculine and feminine, everybody has both.
Correct.
So you can either have divine
Yep.
masculine, divine feminine, or
Right.
wounded.
Wounded, toxic.
Right.
Yeah, that's what people. Toxic masculinity. What the hell? Slow down. Let's take a in-depth look at it. Where's it coming from, right? And there'll be people that argue out there and be like, well, if there wasn't toxic masculinity way back when, then the bridges would never have gotten built. You know what? I don't like to look at it like that. Come on. You got to go a little deeper than that.
Yeah,
You
very
know?
much.
So let's just, people out there, stop with the funny memes. Knock it off. All right?
They're funny.
They're funny, but I look at them going, you're really still not getting to the root. You know what I
Mm-mm.
mean? So you have wounded and you have healed, right? You have the toxic. So go ahead. I'm curious. What are your thoughts on this? Because you were like, let's talk about the divine feminine, the divine masculine, where they kind of sit, the balance of each.
Well, I think that we need to really start talking about the traits of both,
Okay.
right? So the divine feminine, that is the creator,
Yeah.
right?
Sure.
The emotions,
Mm-hmm.
being able to feel that watery
Yep.
sense.
Mm-hmm.
Um, whereas the masculine
Mm-hmm.
is about structure,
Mm-hmm.
doing,
Action. Go,
yes,
go.
that fire.
Fire. You got it.
Um,
So here's what we're doing. We've talked about this before, slightly, but we're talking about it energetically.
right.
Remove the male and female from it. Kick it out the door. If you were looking at somebody dead in the face right now, take the fact that they're either male or female out of the equation. Because what we're doing is talking about it energetically, right?
Right. And it's interesting because the more and more I learn about it, the masculine and the feminine seem to really intertwine
Mm-hmm.
with each other. There was something that I heard recently that the feminine does create structure as well.
Correct.
So they do intertwine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's really just fascinating to me because for so long I was operating in my masculine, being independent, being so structured all
Of
the
course.
time. I didn't allow flow,
Right.
which that's more of the feminine. I didn't feel emotions for a very long time, so I was really not listening to my feminine side.
Of course.
And so, I mean, no wonder my whole left side would be my trouble area physically because the
You and me
left is
both.
the
That's funny.
feminine.
Yeah. Right. Of course.
So the left side of your body is the feminine receiving side.
Yep.
So I was never really good at receiving either.
Mm-hmm.
I was always a giver.
Yep.
Um, but I've been working on that over the last few years and being able to receive.
So ultimately, you didn't want to receive because you don't want to be hurt.
I didn't want to be hurt. I
Expectations.
also didn't know my worth
Right. Right.
either. And I've been hurt so much.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like I didn't want to open myself back up to that. So I was closing that energetic side off. And then the right side is your giving side, the masculine side.
Correct. Yeah.
So where do you think you lie with your feminine and masculine?
Today,
Yeah.
hell of a lot more balanced. I do have to check myself from time to time, but that comes with awareness. Thank God I have it today, right? But one of the things back then is that, and I mentioned this before, I hid a lot under my egotistical masculine through bodybuilding, through the physical, through those things because I didn't want people to see the sensitive side of me. It's funny, I would take those personality tests. I did a Tony Robbins one online one time, and I would do, a bunch of different ones. And they would all come back the same, and I would get really upset at them. I'd be real pissed off, I was like, they're telling me I have a lot more feminine traits. The fuck is this? you know? And I'm like, I don't get this. I don't understand it. And back then, I didn't understand it. But looking back at all the roles that I had in management, in leadership, and all those things, we could have a team of 4 teams, 4 managers, right? I'm one of those managers. Everybody else's team members, all the other managers' team members, would come to me. I'd be the one they would go to. So I was like, okay, I guess they're comfortable with me. That's cool, whatever. It was really about the fact that I had an open ear. I was listening. I was paying attention. I was genuine. I cared. I genuinely cared about what they were saying and how they felt and wanted to help them feel better. That was my feminine side.
I was about to say that was
Yeah,
your feminine side.
correct. But I didn't know that that was the case. I wasn't aware of that back then. So, I played a great role in that when I was in work, even in home life and stuff like that. But you get me out in public, poof, the block goes up, the cape goes up, and out comes Party Mike. Now it's Mike, toxic masculine back then, wounded masculine back then.
Yeah, let's stop saying toxic.
Yeah, let's stop saying
Even
toxic.
though we know the wounded can
right.
be toxic.
Correct.
But it was a wounded
It
masculine.
was a wounded masculine, right? And that person would come out because they didn't want anybody else to see that side of them. I didn't want people to see that I was sensitive, that I could listen to them. And every once in a while in conversation, when I'd be out with people and stuff like that, they'd be like, wow, that's actually really good advice. Well, all right. So I'd slip it in from time to time because that's just who I naturally am. So it would spill out, but I would try damn hard to hide behind my exterior wall. The big muscles that I had, I was a bodybuilder. At the time I was 266 pounds.
Muscle.
Just jacked. I had a nickname back then, Jersey Barrier. I took up the whole queen bed,
Oh boy.
Yeah. So it was me being wounded, my inner child, looking for attention, seeking attention, looking for approval,
Even though that
validation.
attention was negative attention.
All of it was negative, but it didn't matter.
Because you were still getting it.
I was still getting attention. Somebody look at me, please. Please just look at me, goddammit. And that's what I was looking for back then. Today, don't look at me. Don't look at me. There's a lot of times when I'm just like, listen, I just want to do my work. I want to help. And I want to go home at the end of the day. I barely go out these days. We were talking about the other night, and we were out to dinner. Took my parents out. Nice, cool little place in Peabody and stuff like that for Italian. And we were talking about the fact that we barely go out these days, and if we do, we got to make sure it's a good time.
Yes.
And not just anything, not the same old, and to me, I'd rather go home, sit down, have a good meal, relax, be in that space, rather than going out and seeking attention and seeking approval from people who don't give a shit about you to begin with.
Yeah, because how much value are they actually adding to your life?
They added nothing to my life.
Nothing.
And I'm not going to say nothing per se. Again, we go back to, we wouldn't do it unless it was a good time.
Mm-hmm.
I had a blast, had a great time.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, nobody really cared. Nobody was coming home with me at the end of the night. You know what I mean? I took myself home. So I was in a place where I was just seeking attention, looking for approval. Look at me. Yeah.
Yeah, I would
That was
have
the
to
wounded
say
male.
I've been there too.
Right. So with you, what was it? What was that like? Is it being on the female side? What was it similar to what I'm saying in terms of seeing the attention and approval? I mean, look, this was the guy that used to get up on the bars, the tables, family events, functions, weddings. They go ask the DJ would come up and ask a couple people, who's the one in your family that would get everybody up and going? Him over there. They knew. My whole family knew. That guy.
Yeah, I definitely was in that place as well. Going to the bars and stuff, I was always, whenever I drank, I would just be happier. And I would be much more lovey than I already am.
That's what I thought I needed.
And I would go around and everybody in the bar would know who I was by the end of the night.
Right.
I'd have grown men crying on my
Right.
shoulder, telling me their life stories,
Right?
because, that's how I felt like I needed to show up and be that
Yeah.
nurturer
Yeah.
in that environment. And I'll tell you, like, if even with it, like the drinking, if I
Hmm.
wasn't drinking at that time, I'd probably be completely emotionally drained the next day
Yeah.
because of how much space I was holding for those people.
Seriously, right?
And then not to mention sleeping with the wrong men
Yeah.
to seek approval as well,
Right.
right?
Right.
So yeah, so all of that was just intertwined with the use of drugs and alcohol,
Yeah.
and just always trying to seek that approval. And I'm
Oh.
happy that I've turned the page and had those
Hmm.
lightning bolt moments because I
Right.
no longer have to seek approval from anybody besides myself.
Right.
And if something doesn't feel right, if something's not vibing, if something, I think one of the biggest decisions lately that I've made for myself, if I am going into a situation that I know already is going to lower my vibe or my
Hmm.
frequency,
Hmm.
I'm not going.
Not going.
I'm not participating.
Yeah. No.
It's not worth it
No.
anymore.
If you're getting me out of the house, it's got to be good.
Yes.
It's got to be good. I'm not just going to go down the street to the local pub or to the local restaurant or the bar or whatever it is. I'm telling you, that's not happening with me anymore. I tried it numerous times afterwards, after I got out of that crazy, crazy relationship that I had, and just didn't feel right. Didn't feel right anymore. I wanted to be home.
Right.
I felt great. I felt like safe back then, And I'll say it because I needed my alone time back then too. I needed to be by myself with myself during that phase of figuring stuff out. But even after that, it was like I would go and I'm like, no, ain't my scene,
Right.
you know?
Not my
After living it for
scene, not my
years.
circus, not my
No, not my
monkeys.
monkeys.
No,
No,
now I'm looking for my lion and my
exactly.
my cheetahs.
And if you go into those scenes, and if you were to, you're that person now where you're sober, and if you go sit down, you take a look, and by 11 o'clock, the shit's popping off, right? By 11 o'clock, everybody's wasted. They're all drunk. They're screwed up. They're starting to talk with each other. They're like, oh, maybe I get a shot with this person. I get a shot. Oh, I can take this person home. You see the dynamic playing out now because I've been in those scenarios now, and I'm like, oh my God. And to think back, somebody might have been looking in on me back then, saying the same exact thing. And I look at it now going, we were all looking for one thing, meaning,
Yep.
and being and having purpose, and we want it to matter, but yet everything in those moments are so meaningless and so empty, to recall back the experiences that I had, and you'd wake up and I'm like, oh my God, I feel so goddamn empty right now.
Yep.
I
And the
feel real
anxiety.
shitty. The anxiety that holds over you, it's like, what have I done? Like I really keep repeating this fucking pattern
Yeah.
for what?
And society does not make it easy. So let's just talk about that for a second too. So we're talking about going out with the crowd still and being in
Mm-hmm.
those environments, right?
Yep.
And if you still want to go, still go.
Mm.
But you don't have to drink.
Mm-mm.
And don't allow other people to have that expectation of you either.
Oh yeah.
Those questions will come.
Yes, they will. You're
Um,
not drinking? You don't drink anymore? No. No, and now I joke about it. I'm like, no, I've drank enough in this lifetime. And for the next two.
and if people
We're
ask
good.
why,
you
it's
know?
you don't have to give them an
I
answer.
give them no, yeah.
You
It's
don't
like, hey,
have
listen,
to.
I'm just not drinking. Hey, you know what? That's just what it is for my life.
Right.
You know?
Also, all these places around are starting to have the non-alcoholic
The
options,
mocktails, man.
which
Right?
are a lifesaver.
Yeah, they are.
I love the non-alcoholic
Yep.
beers. I was never really a fruity drinker.
You
I
do
was a
got to be
bourbon and
careful though.
beer.
Oh, see, I was bourbon, scotch, whiskey, tequila.
I love my bourbon and my
Man, I
whiskey.
love my fucking tequila.
But
See?
non-alcoholic beer,
See, this is a guy telling you straight out. Like, I recall back, it was a great time. I loved my tequila. Loved it, you know? But the songs out there about tequila are fucking true.
yeah.
Okay?
I love my Patron.
Yeah. Oh, Patron, Don Julio.
Yep.
All
I
of
used
it.
to be the shop buyer for everybody.
Yeah.
Working those 3 jobs just to
Right.
support my habit. Yes. Many, many good stories,
Mm-hmm.
but the next day and the inflammation too. Like
Yeah.
after I quit drinking, I thought that I would lose a lot more weight than I actually did.
Sure.
And after a year and a year and a half of like not losing, or no, about a year. Either way, time does not matter. Time is an illusion after all. But
Right.
my body
Another
was
episode.
not, my body was not dropping the weight because it
Okay.
was retaining all of that inflammation.
Yeah.
So I had to put myself through a strict like fast,
Mm-hmm.
and shock my system so that I could release all of
Right.
that bloat,
Yeah.
inflammation, and energy.
Oh my God, my face, I would recall back. I'm like, I can see cheekbones, right? No, I could show you pictures, just horrible.
Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely say that right now I look the best that I've ever looked in my entire life. Just getting rid of that inflammation,
Right? Yeah.
from the sugar and the booze and all of that.
The glow.
Yeah.
You can feel it, right? The glow, the good skin, like nothing's breaking out. You don't have those moments where it's just horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Horrible. All that
Awful.
poison has nowhere to go but out. And if you
Yes.
can't get it out naturally, guess what it's going to do? Find a way out. And it's
Yes.
through your skin, through your pores.
So
Yep.
true. Yeah, so society, fuck society. Do
Right.
you?
Yeah.
And if you don't want to drink, don't be pressured by
Yeah.
people around you.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to give them an answer as to why you're not drinking.
Yeah, you don't.
And if they require an answer or if they're pushy, then guess what? They're
Not
not
your,
your people.
there you go. Not your people, not your tribe.
No, not your
You
people,
know,
not your tribe. They're not going to be the people that you want with you into the next level because
exactly.
that's exactly where we are,
Yeah.
which we should definitely touch upon that energy right now for March.
What's going on?
Oh man, that expansive energy. It
It's
is,
exhausting, is
it
what it
is
is. I joke
so,
around. I'm like, what's going on? I'm feeling it. I'm in it right now. You shitting me?
it is so much.
That last moon that we had, that one was a doozy.
Yes, it was.
That one had to. It's done some things over the last week and a half where I need to be reminded of a couple of things. You know, I've needed to be reminded of having more grace and holding space and not having expectations.
Yes, expectations are the devil. I'm
Right?
telling you, like, I'll tell you though, like, especially with me being single and all that, like, I used to have the expectations of, have wanting to have that family with the white picket fence by the
Yeah.
time I was
Yeah.
30. Well,
Mm-hmm.
you know what? After home, so much hurt and heartache,
Yeah.
like throwing
You
those
good? You good with that?
expectations out the window, I
Yeah.
feel so good.
Right. Because whatever relationship you get into, it it's going to show up however it shows up. It doesn't have to look
Exactly.
like the house with the white picket fence and the dog and the 2 kids and this and that. And no, it's totally different these days.
Right.
You live in an apartment. You guys having fun? That's great. Right?
Yes.
If that's what you're like, that's perfect. Don't expect that your life is going to be like somebody else's because chances are you're looking into a whole smoking mirror, you know? Yeah. So you know what?
Expectation has to do with so much control, and we
Right?
cannot control shit.
Right? No, we
Okay?
can't.
We can't control anything besides our breath
Yeah.
and our emotions, which
Right.
takes time to master.
Yeah, it does.
You know
It
what I
does.
mean? So like just a little tidbit there.
Mm-hmm.
Put those expectations out the
Yeah.
window. It's so freeing.
Crack them out. Crack them out.
Yes.
So talk to me because I'm not single. I've been with somebody now for a few years plus.
Love her.
She's great.
My little soul
She's
tribe
great.
sister.
I know. I know. So that's actually one of the scenarios that reminded me that I had to have some more grace.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah,
She must have smacked you upside the head.
No, you know what? We both smack each other upside the head sometimes.
You need that.
You do.
That's
You
a good
do.
relationship right there.
I'm going to tell you
Healthy.
right now. I've said this before. It's the healthiest relationship that I've ever had. the most mature relationship that I've ever had. To be in that space, you're still going to have moments and you're still going to have arguments. You're still going to go through that shit, right? But to have somebody that wants to go through with that shit with you, that's important.
It
And
is.
to meet you at least halfway and to to talk about things and then to look at when you're done being the arguing and stuff like that, to hold that space and to say, okay, well, let me try to step into your shoes and hear what you're saying, and then vice versa, let me step into your shoes and let me hear what you're saying, and to understand it from each other's point of view. So you have to have that.
That's healthy conflict.
It absolutely
And that's
is.
a healthy relationship
You
right
got
there.
two individuals, different people. That's just what's going to happen
Different
sometimes.
people, different backgrounds,
Exactly.
different species,
Oh yeah.
male versus
Male
female.
versus female, man. I'm telling you, listen, I'm still a guy at heart, man. I love being a dude. I do. Right? And there are times when, yes, as much as I do the work that I do with people, the thing that I have to remember sometimes is that my speed and I was told this from one of my mentors at one point, because her and I are similar in the way we attack our healing. We're kamikazes. We move fast.
Yeah.
We see something, we just dive in and we move at lightning speed to go through the process of healing it. Because that's what we want for ourselves. We have to remind ourselves, not everybody moves at that fucking speed.
Nope.
Not everybody can move at that speed. And that's okay. Not saying it's the best way to do it. It's my way of doing it.
Yes.
Right? Again, expectations. Throw them out the window.
Yes.
Right? Because we all move at different speeds. But that wasn't where I was going to go with
Yeah,
this.
I'm not really sure. Can we
Right? I
circle
wasn't.
back?
Yeah, let's circle back. Look, I've been with somebody for over a few years. What the fuck is the dating scene like right now? Come on, man, share. What's up? What is going? Because I'll tell you right now, I don't think I'd ever want to be on it again.
It's an
From what I
interesting
hear,
scene.
yeah.
So it's very it's complicated for men and women out there. Women want to be approached. They want to be
Stop. Hold back. What's up? Wait. With the whole new dynamic of women being so independent.
oh, I know. It's a conflict.
Oh my God.
I know.
Okay,
It's a conflict that's out
ladies,
there.
can I speak to this for a quick second? Ladies, if you want a man to approach you, listen to me carefully. The number one thing you need to do, be submissive.
Get off your damn phone.
Yeah, get off your damn phone. Be a little bit submissive, and not in a bad way. I'm not saying to bow down. That's not what I'm saying. It's to step into your feminine. So if you want a man to approach you in a man way, right, in a healthy male way, then the lady, has to step into their not so independent space. Because there's a lot of women today that have, I'm independent, I don't need a man. So a lot of us men out there, look, if I was on the dating scene right now, and I hear it, I'm not on the dating scene, but if I was on the dating scene right now, I'd be fucking a little scared to approach women these days.
And that's what I keep hearing from men is that that's exactly how they feel. They
Yeah.
are afraid to approach women
Yep.
because they feel like they're going to get shut down right from the start.
Correct. We don't need a man.
Right.
How many times as men, I got a brotherhood, right, that we meet with every couple of weeks, and we talk about this stuff. And it's real. There's gotta be a balance there. We want to approach you. We're too fucking scared, like you're saying.
Yeah, we don't it's not easy out there, and then the online dating as well. That is that's pretty much what dating is right now because
Online.
there's a disconnect, especially after COVID,
Okay.
with meeting people organically in person
Gotcha.
because people are so distracted and disconnected for one thing with their phones. And if you ever go out with people, a group of people, just look at whoever in the group, look at who's on their phone, right? How are they? If they're disconnected in the group, they're disconnected from everybody else in the place. So how do you expect to be approached
Right.
out there? So the online dating is interesting in itself as well because you have a lot of masks that are being worn. There's a lot of things that you have to be aware of as far as bots and
Pictures not
um,
being them.
being catfished and
Oh
all of
my
the
God.
filters, and no one is showing up
Have you
authentically.
have you come across this a lot?
I have, yeah.
Seriously.
So I am
I hear the
actually,
stories, but just to hear it from you, like you're sitting right next to me, and I'm sitting here going, "It's really happening."
it's a real thing.
Jesus.
So I'm actively trying to put myself out there now,
Okay.
just to practice dating again.
Put the training wheels on.
Yes,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Okay.
So we all just have to stay open-minded in
Yeah.
it. And again, whatever energy you're putting out, you're going to receive back. So be mindful of
Yes.
that and have your boundaries in place before you do start dating again.
Hmm.
Know what you're looking for and what you're not looking for.
Yeah.
And having those intentions set prior to dating, that will set you up for success.
So, it here's what I've heard. Dating's turned into this whole interview process. Is that true?
It can be.
Okay.
Yeah, it can be, depending on who it is you're with.
So, the concern for me with that would be that you're going on this quote unquote date slash interview, and you guys are nervous. You're not going to really get to know each other very well during that first time. And a lot of people are like, well, if I don't feel it that first time, then I'm out. I'm going to go see somebody else. I'll go on another date. And I'm always like, sometimes I don't think we slow down enough to realize maybe it takes a second date, maybe it takes a third date to kind of like get a little bit more comfortable in each other's energy and space to open up, to actually open up. Like we're so closed when we meet people, new, someone new. For a lot of people, I'm a fucking open book, as you can
Me
tell. You too,
too.
right? That's what we're
So
doing this
it's
for,
very hard for
right?
me to go on a date with somebody and just be superficial.
Yeah, that's difficult, of course.
Because when you do start on, let's talk about that for a second. When you do
Okay.
start on your healing journey,
Yeah,
that brings in a whole nother dynamic into dating as well
sure.
because you want to feel aligned with the
Hmm.
person that you're on a date with and you want to know that they've done healing as well.
Yeah,
So if I've met with somebody and you can tell that they're just not operating on your frequency.
yeah,
If your frequencies are not aligning, that's a sign right there.
right away.
So in that case, I'm not going to want to go on a second or a
Yeah,
third date because it's just not
yeah.
aligning.
And I agree with you I totally agree with you. I mean, there's got to be similarities coming out of that first date, even if you're feeling like, I'm unsure. There's got to be similarities. No, but if you find someone that is not on that same path pretty much right away, I'd say, you know whether or not they're gonna go down that road of healing or not,
Exactly.
right away. Yeah, so
So,
that's not what I'm talking about, but yes,
so what are
totally
you
agree with
talking
you.
about?
No, I'm just talking about like, if you meet somebody and you guys start chatting and stuff and you're like, oh, I've done some healing work, or I've done these type of modalities, and you go back and forth, and there still feels like this little block because you guys both feel like a little closed off from each other because you're not both opening up, right? You're meeting somebody new for the first time. So there's some similarities there, but you walk away going, there was some cool stuff there, but I don't know. It just felt very blocked. Well, understand that you put the block up too.
The mirror.
The mirror. Exactly. So maybe it will take a second date. And when you go on that second date, maybe there is more of an opening, right? And that third date creates more of an opening,
And you have to
right?
remember too that block is protection
Correct.
because as you get older, the majority of the people that
Mm-hmm.
you're interacting with have been put through it.
Yep.
They have been hurt. And as humans, right, we
Mm-hmm.
serve to protect ourselves first. So that energetic block is a protective thing.
Exactly.
As you get more comfortable, you'll feel more open with that individual.
Yeah.
So if you do have similarities, if you do vibe close enough, give it a chance.
Yeah.
see where it can go.
Yeah.
If it's not meant to be, the universe will take care of it for you. So again, and those expectations, throw them out the window.
Yeah.
When you go into dating someone, the mentality that you really should bring into it is you're just meeting someone new.
Yeah, think about it. Like you're meeting somebody new for that first time. Now, you go in with the expectation of all of a sudden there's got to be that click, that switch, that chemistry. Are you looking for lust or are you looking for love?
Right.
Because lust is an instantaneous trigger. Bang in your face. You will feel that chemistry and it's like really heightened. Love is nurtured, people.
Yes.
Love is nurtured.
Love grows.
Exactly.
It does not happen right from the get-go.
No, it
And
doesn't.
if you do get that sensation, run.
And lust doesn't turn into love.
Right.
So, two different things.
Right.
That can be its own podcast, honest to God. Yeah, lust does not turn into love. If you went into that and you all of a sudden you feel like, oh my God, this instantly contract, it's really intense. That's chances are it's lust.
And you want to get out.
You want out. Maybe you want out. Maybe that's what you want. Maybe that's what you want in the moment. That's what you were calling in, that instantaneous lust, and maybe that's what you were looking for. If you were looking for a serious relationship and that's what you caught, leave, re-examine what you are putting out for energy.
And remember your boundaries.
Exactly. So we're coming up on time here.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
So another episode, we definitely need to go over masculine and feminine within relationships as well.
Man, we're going to cover a lot of topics.
Yeah, we are. So this was a pretty solid episode today.
Love it.
I just want to also bring in why we do this too is to be the change.
Yes.
So we've talked about therapy. We talked about being open, being our authentic selves, and sharing pieces of ourselves with you in hopes to show you that there is a way. Creating change within you will help create change in the community, which will then grow to our hopes globally, because that is really the only place that we can take as individuals in this full-on war that's going out there with the energies right now. So instead of looking and watching the news and being in that fear mode, go within, be the change, and create that change in your friends, your family. Allow it to trickle out from you.
Absolutely. Well said.
So thank you so much, Mike. This was awesome.
Thank you. But before we cast off here, we got some stuff coming up, right?
Yeah, we do. So we have a lot of things actually.
Yeah, we do. And I figured we'd take a moment here to mention some stuff that we have going on, things that we've created so that you can join us in this healing journey. So what do we got, Melissa?
So Friday, we are kicking off our Evolve or Remain group coaching session. That will be starting once a month, every second Friday at 1 o'clock. It's a 90-minute group healing with me and Mike. We will go into different skills that we've utilized to help ourselves grow, that we want to teach and coach you on developing, as well as meditation, breath work, Reiki healing, whatever we see that fits that time. That group's also going to evolve into sober community. So we'll be doing excursions and sober socials so that the sober, but not only sober, mental wellness aware folks can come together with like-minded people and create that community.
This is sober from every type of addiction. Doesn't have to be just drugs and alcohol. Okay, so whatever you've been struggling with, whether it be food, sex, work, you name it, the gambling, anything, just understand there's a place for you. And everybody's coming together to make sure that we're all on the same path of healing and recovery.
And even if you're not struggling with it and you're just choosing for yourself to take a different direction, this is also for you. It's an opportunity to build your tribe.
Correct.
And
gonna meet a lot of cool people along the way.
And gain inspiration from those that align with your frequency and the frequency that you're calling in. as well.
Yep.
We also have the Northshore Wellnesspreneurs meetings
Yep. Once a month.
every second Wednesday at noon. That is next Wednesday, the 13th.
Yep.
We will be doing a journey into the 5 and 10 year goals, our visions that we have for our wellness businesses.
Yeah.
And we'll be doing that through meditation as well as Reiki. We'll have time to create action plans and break those plans down into small, simple steps
Exactly.
to set you up for success. And then March 20th, we have the spring equinox.
That's right. So a nice vernal equinox event, right, that they can sign up for.
Yes, and what's going to be happening that night?
We're not telling.
Oh, it's going to be a surprise.
We're going to be doing some celebration, some spring equinox celebration of welcoming in some new beginnings.
All I know is that it's going to be a fire ceremony, and I'm super
Fire
excited.
ceremony, yep, fire pit, everything. It's going to be pretty awesome. We'll include the link on this description here so that they can sign up for it.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike. What else do we have going on? Oh, we might have something big happening in November.
We do, yeah. We've been mentioning it a lot. You know, November 2nd from 11 to 4 p.m. We're going to be at the Topsfield Fairgrounds. We have rented out 2 buildings, Coolidge Hall and the B building, right? And in Coolidge Hall, we're going to have over 50 vendors, holistic practitioners that are going to be there to meet and greet you, tell you what they do about with their businesses, what services they provide, products. And in the B building, we're going to have workshops and everything from fitness to nutrition to holistic modalities. What are some of the other workshops that we got that day?
We just got some interest for a integrative breath work.
Look at that. Somatic work, breath work.
Yes.
Love it.
So it's going to be awesome. The demographics that we will be reaching are all up the North Shore.
Yes.
There's nothing like this here.
No, there's not.
So
not
we
in this
are.
area.
No, there isn't.
So we're starting to corner the market up here.
Yes.
All right? So if you're a holistic practitioner that wants to be part of this event, that link will be in this description as well. So just look down below and get yourself registered to be a vendor at the event, because you're not just going to have the opportunity to meet clients. This isn't, it's twofold, right? They get out there, they can showcase their business, their services, their products, and things of that nature, but they can also meet and collaborate and network with local practitioners in the area that have similar interest or complementary services to what you offer. And I always say that, we're in a business of spirituality. And being in a business of spirituality means that we're all here to help each other. And what that really truly means is that there's no competition amongst us, and we should be building something bigger. The bigger the tribe, the better, right? So let's make sure that happens that day. I'd love to see that.
We are all wellness warriors, and we need to set those spiritual egos aside.
Yep.
And step more into this collaboration so that we can create more change. That is the name of the game going forward. We have to support and collaborate with each other in order to create that change in our community. So this is a great opportunity to do that. For the vendors that sign up, you will have the opportunity to network with the other vendors right from the get-go. Yep. We will connect you. We will provide you with whatever you need to allow yourself to thrive in this space. We will coach you along the way. So you get a lot, in addition to the 6 hours for the expo as well, networking, not only with the attendees from the North Shore that are seeking your services and products, but also with the other vendors and businesses.
Exactly. So I think we got quite a bit of
We did. And if you have questions, or if you want to talk one-on-one, I am setting up Google Meets, so please do reach out.
Yes.
And I would be happy to set something up with you.
Yeah, that way you can go over all the information that's going on.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you, Melissa. We'll see you next time.